Hey there everyone, welcome back to my channel and to another Satisfactory video, where in my last YouTube video I did build up this whole uranium setup you can see here, but you can also see that I did build up all 60 of the nuclear power plants I need, which I actually didn't make a video about, because instead of making a video, I tried experimenting making a couple live streams doing it, seeing, if live streams were better than making YouTube videos. But anyways though, so that's why there's not a video of me building up the nuclear power plants, because I made live streams building it, which by the way, if you do want to check out the live streams, I will have them linked in the description below if you do want to see them, or you can just go to the channel homepage and they'll pop up under the live tab if you do want to see them there. But anyways though, to kind of explain what's going on with the nuclear power plant setup here, or well actually before I get to the nuclear power plant setup, I think I should explain what's going on with the uranium fuel rod setup for all the people who did not watch my last video. And so, I mean, it's pretty simple. I am making 12 uranium fuel rods per minute. And so you can see here I have 3 main highways going into the main factory here, transporting the copper, iron, limestone, deuterium, uranium, sulfur, coal, and whatever else is needed in order to make the uranium fuel rods. So that's kind of what's going on here, just to kind of sum it up a little bit. And to just generally sum up with what's going on here with the nuclear reactors, it's also pretty simple here. So I have 5 rows of 12 nuclear reactors, and the reason why I set it up in 5 rows of 12 here to get 60 nuclear reactors is because I have 5 rows of 6 manufacturers here, and since each manufacturer can make 0.4 uranium fuel rods per minute, and each nuclear power plant only consumes 0.2 nuclear fuel rods, well, that would mean that each manufacturer here can feed 2 nuclear power plants, which means 6 times 2 is 12. So each row of these manufacturers is feeding one of these rows of nuclear power plants. So pretty simple stuff there. And then as far as the water goes, if I just go ahead down here, you can see that I did set up, well, 120 water extractors, which is how many water extractors I need in order to, well, properly water down the nuclear power plants, or not water down, but properly fuel them with water. And so you can see here that the way I have it set up is also quite straightforward, and that is, since each nuclear power plant needs 240 water per minute and one water extractor can produce 120 water per minute, all I did is well, pretty simple. I made 2 water extractors going straight into one nuclear reactor. And the reason why I did it like that, instead of building up, well, all of these all in one clumped bunch somewhere out in the ocean and then having them all go into X amount of pipes and then overflowing, is well, because in my opinion, I think it was just a simpler design of doing it this way. And also, as far as, well, overflowing all of this goes, since each group of water extractors is independent from each other, there shouldn't be any problems with overflowing either, which means water should be going into these nuclear reactors pretty quickly and efficiently too. And it's gotten a bit dark here, but anyways though, if you do want to see me build the nuclear reactors or the water extractors in more detail, then I do again suggest you check out the live streams I made. I will have them linked in the description below, or you can check out the channel homepage like I said earlier. But anyways though, that gets into what I want to get done in today's video, and that is starting the plutonium fuel rod setup, because, well, in order to get rid of the nuclear waste that the nuclear reactors produce, I need to make plutonium fuel rods. And so I think I mentioned this earlier on in the series, but the way I want to build up the plutonium fuel rod setup is actually quite straightforward. And so the way I have planned it out is I split it into 2 halves. So the first half is going to be getting the non-fissile uranium all automated and stuff, and then the second half is actually getting the plutonium rods, well, set up and everything. And now the reason why I cut it in half like that is because, well, mainly for my sanity, so I can, better plan out everything and stuff, but also because the non-fissile uranium is also less radioactive, well, than nuclear waste. And the reason why I bring that up is because, well, my power situation right now is, I mean, it's pretty okay if I just go ahead and look at a power pole here. So you can see here, like I said, it's pretty okay. But if I ever did need to turn any of these nuclear reactors on for any amount of time, well, I mean, all of the nuclear waste would just back up because I wouldn't have my plutonium set up, well, all done yet. You can see right now I don't have a plutonium set up. So if I ever did need to turn on these reactors before I had a plutonium setup all automated, it would be a lot better if I stockpiled non-fissile uranium than nuclear waste, as non-fissile uranium is way less radioactive than nuclear waste. Again, hopefully that all made sense, but for honestly the main reason is sanity, just to keep the numbers all straightforward and to make the planning easier. But anyways, as far as how I actually want to build up the plutonium setup here, or the non-fissile uranium setup I should say, because that's what I'm going to be focusing on in today's video, is the non-fissile uranium is what I'm going to be focusing on. And so the main idea I had for this factory is I did want it to kind of work in an L shape. So what I mean by that is, well, then now I've built out the nuclear power plant. Going out from the left of it there, I would have my plutonium set up. And now the reason why I want to make it in an L shape instead of a straight line is, well, pretty simple, and that's because I'm pretty close to the world border as it is, and I can't actually go too much more forward without running into the world border. So that's why I'm building it in a bit of an L shape. And, well, apart from that, as far as how big the non-fissile uranium factory is going to be, it's actually not going to be very big. I think it only does require 24 blenders, which isn't a lot of blenders. I mean, that whole system set up over there is 24 blenders, so not a whole ton of blenders. And then apart from that, I think it's something like 15 refineries and then 15 constructors. So like I said, all in all, not a whole ton of machines going on. So this whole process should be pretty straightforward. And so as far as actually getting the materials over to the non-fissile uranium setup, which is eventually going to turn into the plutonium setup, is, well, if I look at my notes here, yeah, I'm going to need what looks like quartz, the sulfur node from over here, the nitrogen gas, along with some iron, just for the non-fissile uranium. And so the sulfur, iron, and quartz is pretty simple. They're all just nicely located right here. So they can all kind of make their way onto the existing belt highway that's over here. And what I can actually do if I really need to is I can actually make a small kind of belt highway shooting off from the main one coming over to here, so I could have all of the resources separated on its own highway. The only resource that's going to be kind of annoying to get is going to be the nitrogen gas, since it is located all the way over here and all of the other resources I need are all the way over here. So that might get a bit annoying, but there is a belt highway over here that I'm using for the coal and sulfur. Right over there, you can see it. So it shouldn't be that big an issue as far as like actually piping it over and stuff goes. But before I even get any of that done, I actually need to like figure out where I want to place the general foundations for all of the, well, constructors, refineries, and stuff goes. So I have to map out like where I want to put all of the machines and stuff. So what I think I'm going to do is I am going to update you guys when I am done mapping out like all of the, well, machines and everything, and when I have a bit of a foundation thing set up. Or actually, just before I do go, I think I should fly over there and kind of explain what I have generally planned. Now, I do know I just explained it, but I think it will be better if I go and fly over there and kind of show you. So if I go over here to the very end here, you can see that I actually do have some extra space on the end here, mainly for belt work with the uranium, or sorry, not the uranium, the nuclear waste here, which honestly shouldn't be too bad seeing how all of the nuclear waste can fit on one belt. So it shouldn't be too bad. But anyways though, I do have all this extra space for whatever I may need it for. But essentially what I want to do is if I go to the blueprints here and get get my 1 meter foundation set up here, you can see I can just go ahead and place it down something like that. So you can see it's all lined up. And essentially I'm just going to place a couple of these down and make a bit of a platform and map out, well, where all the refineries, constructors, and blenders are going. So now I will update you guys when I am done building up, well, the foundation and basic, call it layout or general layout I want for the factory. And just like that, I did manage to build up a bit of a platform here for the non-fissile uranium setup. I also did section it out here, as you can see. I also did build up a bit of a belt highway too, to transport all of the materials I'm going to need for the project. And so all of the materials I am going to need for the non-fissile uranium is going to be coming on this belt highway right here. So that would include the nitrogen gas, the iron, the sulfur, and the quartz. So all of those materials will be transported on this belt and will be sectioned off in their own sections here. And so the way I sectioned it off is quite simple, really. And that is this first section right here is going to be for the raw quartz, which is going to be made into silica, which will then be used in the non-fissile uranium blenders. And then beside that, I am going to have the sulfuric acid refineries over here, since the raw quartz and sulfur, well, both go straight into the non-fissile uranium setup, pretty much. And then this third setup over here is going to be for all of the iron, where it will then turn into iron ingots and then iron plates, which will then be used with the nitrogen gas and some water to make nitric acid. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how I divided up the foundation slab here into its 3 sections. And I mean, it should go pretty well how I want to, like, you know, organize it and everything. But yeah, I think the one really annoying part though is gonna actually be getting, well, all of the raw materials over, because I know I did mention earlier in the video that it wouldn't be too difficult to get like the quartz and the iron and the sulfur, which is true. It's not going to be super difficult, seeing how, like, for example, the sulfur is literally like right over there, so I can very easily just run a belt from over there on the ground and then it'll make its way up onto the highway. But the one really annoying thing that is going to be, well, annoying to get is the nitrogen gas you can see here, because it's going to have to run from there all the way up onto this highway here, all the way to the base, and then it's going to have to go across the base and then onto these 2 pipes here. And the reason why I have 2 pipes instead of 1 is because I am going to need 950 nitrogen gas per minute, and seeing how only one Mark II pipe can only handle 600 per minute, I am going to need 2 pipes. But yeah, so that I'm all the way at the end here of the pipeline on the belt here, yeah, you can see it's gonna have to somehow make its way from here across the base and over to the other highway, which is gonna be, well, like I said, interesting, but not impossible. So it should be pretty fine to do. But yeah, anyways, though, from here I am gonna go ahead and build up the quartz constructors, or the silicon constructors, as well as the sulfuric acid refineries, the iron ore smelters, and yeah, it's only those 3 things I'm going to build. But yeah, so I am going to go ahead and update you guys when I am done building up all 3 of those things. And after a few short minutes, I did fully build up all of the first stage stuff in the production process. And so to kind of explain what's going on here, well, I mean, it's pretty simple. So over here, I have all of the silica set up, which I am going to need later to make the non-fissile uranium. And over here, I have the sulfuric acid refineries all set up also. But now the sulfuric acid refinery, it's actually going to be quite interesting the way it's going to work here, because, well, if I take a look at my notes here, since the non-fissile uranium is outputting 240 water per minute as a byproduct along with the non-fissile uranium, and the whole sulfuric acid line up here also requires 240 water, the general plan here is to take the 240 water from the non-fissile uranium and circle it back into these sulfuric acid refineries here. You see, the only problem with that is, well, in order to get the process going, I need to have some water in the system already to actually produce the sulfuric acid. So that's going to be quite interesting how I'm going to work that out. Although, I mean, it shouldn't be too annoying. All I really need to do is just set up like a small temporary line going down to the ocean over there and just set up a temporary, well, like water extractor. So honestly, that shouldn't be too big a deal. And apart from that, I also have the iron set up here also. And the iron is going to be used for, well, making the nitric acid, because I am going to need iron plates along with nitrogen gas and water to make the nitric acid. So that's kind of what's happening here. And so from here, I think I am going to mainly work on trying to actually belt everything over. And so what I mean by that is, well, obviously I have the belt highway hooked up here, but I actually want to like set up all of the, well, miners and actually like getting everything belted over to the factory. And of course, obviously setting up the next stage in the production process. So for example, since now I have all of the iron plates fully automated in theory, I am now going to move on to making all of the nitric acid. So yeah, anyways, that's basically the plan for right now. And the way I am going to accomplish this is pretty simple. So for example, starting at the end of this line here, which is going to be sulfur. So the reason why I did end it here for the sulfur is, well, pretty simple, and that's because the sulfur node is right there. And so instead of taking the sulfur node and belting it all the way over to the main highway like that, I just thought I could, you know, shortcut it through the swamp on the bottom of here, and then just, well, taking a elevator all the way up and, well, all the way over to where the sulfuric acid refineries are. And then, I mean, it's also a pretty straightforward process for both the nitrogen gas, iron, and quartz also, because I'm getting the iron and quartz all from that area over there. And then the nitrogen gas is, well, it's going to have to cut across the factory and then all the way over that way, because like I did mention earlier, the nitric acid is located all the way over here. But anyways though, so pretty straightforward how I want to get that done. And so, you know what guys, I am going to update you guys when I am done building up all of the Mark III miners, water extractors, and the nitrogen resource wells. Alright, and just like that, I did fully build up the 8 blenders I needed for the nitric acid, and I also did hook up the belt highway and everything up to, well, the machines here, as well as the, well, ore nodes over there as well. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I really did. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot, but I mean, it is December and the holidays are going on, so I don't exactly have a whole lot of time right now for me to, well, do anything. So this video is definitely coming out a lot later than it should, so apologies for that, but you know, it's the holidays, what are you gonna do about it? But anyways, enough about that. Like I did mention, I did hook up the nitric acid blenders here, as you can see, and so I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I have the nitrogen gas, water, and iron plates going into making all of the nitric acid I need, and the way I actually hooked it up is also, I mean, pretty straightforward. So I have, well, I mean, all of the iron plates, nitrogen gas, what else did I say, water? Yeah, so I pretty much have all of that going to where it needs to go. I also did build up the water extractors underneath here too. You can see right over there. Pretty simple design. It's pretty much identical to how I set up the water extractors for the nuclear reactors over there. So, I mean, yeah, pretty simple stuff. And I also did mention I did hook up the belt highway here with the rest of here, as well as, well, all of the raw resource nodes. So pretty simple how I did that too. It's pretty much identical to how I set up all my other resource nodes. And so just to show you like a quick example of how I do that, I just go all the way to the sulfur node over here. You can see that I have the raw sulfur going up into a storage container just as a bit of a buffer, which then goes down to the rest of the belt highway there. So I mean, pretty simple stuff there. But yeah, I mean, from here I am now going to have to build up what is it, 24 blenders for the non-fissile uranium. I think it's 24 blenders. It might be 26 or something like that. I need to recheck my notes, but anyways, it's something like 24 or 26 blenders that I have to build up for, well, the non-fissile uranium, like I mentioned. And so as far as how I actually want to build that up, I actually can't remember if I did make a blueprint. I did make a blueprint, so if I just pull up the blueprint here and take a look at it, let's see what I did here because I totally forgot. Well, it seems pretty simple. I need uranium waste, silica, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, and you can see here that I have both liquids and both solids set up here in an overflow kind of system here. And then the output is also pretty simple, which is non-fissile uranium and water. Oh, that's right, the water. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but the sulfuric acid here, it's getting all of its water from the non-fissile uranium blenders over there because, well, the non-fissile uranium blenders are going to make a total of 240 water per minute, which is exactly the amount that these 4 refineries need. So yeah, so that's how that's gonna work. As far as actually getting the system going, what I think I might do is, since this pipe here is also not water, where's a water pipe? Here's a water pipe. But so what I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take, wait, hold on a second, why is this saying it's nitrogen gas? This is supposed to be the water line. Anyways, I think that'll be cleared up as soon as I get water running through it. But getting back to the main plan here, what I'm probably gonna do is I'm just gonna take this and kind of like do something like that temporarily. Of course, it's not gonna run like this permanently, obviously, but I'm gonna do something kind of like that just to get the sulfuric acid going. And then as soon as the non-fissile uranium starts picking up, I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect it, and it'll all be self-sufficient and everything will run totally smoothly, and I won't have to worry about anything, because that is how Satisfactory works. Anyways, though, I am now gonna have to go ahead and figure out how I'm gonna build 24 of these blenders up now. I mean, it shouldn't be too difficult. It's gonna take up a ton of space, though. That's what it's gonna do. But I mean, if all I really need to worry about is space, then I think I should be fine. Yeah, I mean, I'll update you guys when I'm done building up the non-fissile uranium blenders. And finally, after about 3.5 weeks now, I have now finally finished building up the non-fissile uranium setup. And so you can see here, I did finish the last part of the setup, which was setting up the non-fissile uranium blenders. And so to kind of summarize what's going on with the non-fissile uranium blenders, I mean, well, it is pretty simple in my opinion, but it does look kind of complicated. So to explain this the best I can, the way this works here is this top belt here is the uranium waste, which is going into the non-fissile uranium, obviously, to then be turned into non-fissile uranium, which is the whole point of this setup, by the way, is to get rid of the uranium. Moving on, though, the second belt I have underneath here is for all of the silica I also need for the non-fissile uranium. And then as far as how I dealt with the sulfuric acid and the water output is also pretty interesting because, well, you can see I didn't have a whole lot of room for pipe. So to start with, the way I dealt with the sulfuric acid is, well, if I just take a look at the pipes here, looks like this top one here is for the sulfuric acid, which is then going into the bottom, or wait, hold on now, sorry, I'm just getting kind of confused here with my own stuff. Anyways, though, the point I'm trying to make is the sulfuric acid is going where it needs to go, and the water is also going back this way, back into the sulfuric acid refineries. So all pretty, well, simple and everything going on over there. And so, like I did mention, with now the non-fissile uranium blenders all done, I am pretty much done the entire setup for the non-fissile uranium, which, again, I mean, this took me 3.5 weeks, which, looking at it, should have only taken about maybe 3.5 hours if I worked hard enough, but, you know, it's the holidays, so kind of busy with holiday stuff, obviously. So yeah, that's why this video's coming out a lot later than it should. But anyways, though, with the non-fissile uranium stuff pretty much all done, I am going to end the video here. But just before I do end it, to kind of explain what's going on in my next video, which will also most definitely come out maybe a bit later than it should, is I will be taking care of, well, the plutonium fuel rod setup and everything that's involved with that. So yeah, that's what's going on in my next video. But anyways, though, I'm pretty much just rambling on about useless stuff at this point, so thank you for watching today's video. I really hope you did enjoy it. I know I enjoyed today's video. If you could also please like and subscribe, that would really help me out a lot. And yeah, thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!